Be spiritually minded is life and it is peace. What does it mean it is life? It gives you freedom. It gives you liberty. When we say life, we are talking about a person who has liberty, has freedom. When we talk about peace, we are talking of a contented mindset. A contented life. You'll be peaceful. Peaceful. But you can only do this if you're spiritually minded. When you're carnally minded, you cannot experience this. This is what was happening in Israel. They were so carnal that they had forgotten what it looks like to see the power of God. And Elijah came unto the people and said, underline this verse that I'm going to read. And he said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word, because people were bewitched. Now they were following Baal. I won't take you so much into the story that happened, but most of you know what happened there. What happened was they put sacrifices. The prophets of Baal called fire, and the fire didn't come. And Elijah called fire, and fire came. And he ended up slaughtering all those prophets on that very day. And they all died that very day. You all know that story. But there is a reason why I'm reading to you this story. Why I'm sharing with you from this story. That it was a time in Israel where Israel was wicked. There was a lot of wickedness in Israel, especially in the palace. And so the prophets of Baal had taken over Israel. But Elijah came to bring back Israel into the presence of God. Now you must notice something, which we're reading there about Obadiah. The Bible says this man Obadiah feared the Lord greatly. Greatly. Let me show you one of the signs that shows us that Obadiah feared the Lord. The Bible says, when Obadiah met Elijah, because Obadiah and Ahab both met Elijah. But it says when Obadiah met Elijah, he said, art thou my Lord Elijah? Art thou my Lord Elijah? He feared the man. There is a fear for holy things that comes to men who know God. So it means that these people had opinions. There was God, which was their God as Israelites, and they had their opinions of God. So now they were considering, should it be God or it shouldn't be God? This version says, how long will you waver between two opinions? Meaning that this was a generation of people with opinions. Write it down. There were a generation of people with opinions. So the reason why we have people who are slumbering is because we have Christians that have opinions about God and don't know God. They have not been in the presence of God long enough to know Him and know what He's capable of doing. Even Jesus doesn't like people who are lukewarm. He says you're not hot, you're not cold. Be very careful when you sit next to a believer in church that is neither hot nor cold. Rather understand when a guy is carnal. And you know this one is carnal, is a gone deal. But someone who is, they don't leave church, but they don't do church. They don't leave. They've been there, they tell you I've been here for 1,000 years. There are people I found in church, they didn't know how to pray. We became men of God, they still don't know how to pray. But they don't leave church. They are lukewarm. We have a name for them. They are lukewarm. Give me Message version from 15. You see, Message version has a way of messing up communication and gives it to you straight. 15, start from 15. He says, I know you inside out and find little to my liking. He says, when I look at you, I find little to my liking about you. He says, you're not cold, you're not hot. Far better to be either cold or hot. Verse 16. He says, you're stale, you're stagnant. You make me want to... This is Jesus. This is how Jesus feels about such people. You saw Ahab. He asked Elijah, art thou the one that disturbs Israel? You are disturbing Israel. He thinks that because Elijah brought the famine, he was disturbing Israel. Elijah tells him, no, you are the one who's disturbing Israel. You and your father's house. There are Christians who are stale. They are so stale. You talk to someone and you find them so limited. So limited. It's like there is a wall. The Bible talks about it, and when you read it in the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about it in the curses. You know the blessings? There were blessings and then there were curses. He says, if you shall listen to me, you shall be blessed when you go in. You shall be blessed when you come out. You shall plant and you shall... Then it goes to the curses and it says, I will make the heavens above you like steel. And I will make the ground below you like bronze. Such that when you till, you will hit a metal. So there are people who are operating on a solid heaven. Nothing penetrates. Turn to Romans chapter 8. From verse 3. Let's read from verse 4. I'm talking about opinions. He says that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. Who walk not after what? The flesh, but after the Spirit. Verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. Verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life, and it is peace. It is life, and it is peace. It is life, and it is peace. It says to be spiritually minded. You see, when you're spiritually minded, there are opinions you begin to kill in your life. Because you're spiritually minded. You're spiritually minded. You're spiritually minded. When someone is carnally minded, so one I'll talk about lukewarm people. They hold between opinions. They don't know what to do. They seem to have some sort of mindset over things so much that they cannot experience the glory of God. When you're spiritually minded, there will be even things that would have mattered to you but won't matter because of your spirit mind. So the Bible says to be carnally minded is death. You know why it's death? Because when you continue thinking like that, you find yourself in a place where you're stuck. Now you get stuck because of your opinions. Find me everyone who's always saying God doesn't work. They find themselves stuck. They will get stuck. So to be carnally minded, the Bible says, is death. 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 Message version says, this self-importance leads nowhere. Look, obsession with self in these matters is a dead end. Dead end. The moment you start to think about yourself all the time, you think things are bad. Dead end. But it says attention to God leads us out into the open, freedom, into a spacious, free life.